This is Sara Sharif doing what she loved most, according to her teacher.
That really is what everyone remembers about Sara, is just the constant song, constant singing, constant dancing. We'll always remember her as that really confident, very smiley, full of energy and life little girl. She was an absolute chatterbox. She was called often a mother hen. She would love to look after all the little children on the playground.
But who was looking after 10-year-old Sara, killed by the people meant to protect and love her the most? Today, Sara's father, Urfan Sharif, a cab driver from Pakistan, and her stepmother, Beinash Batool, were found guilty of the child's murder. Sara's uncle, Faisal Malik, was found guilty of allowing it to happen.
Sara's young life was brought to an end as a result of the brutal abuse and unspeakable violence inflicted on her by Sharif, Batool, which Malik did nothing to prevent.
Police!
This is the family home in Surrey where Sara's body was found. She had lived here with her parents and uncle.
Hello, anyone in?
The police arrived shortly after receiving a phone call from her father in the early hours of August 10th, 2023. The back door had been left open, but there was no sign of life.
Police, hello?
Sara's body was on a bed in one of the bedrooms. The house itself was pretty sparsely decorated. So some of the rooms had been cleaned prior to leaving. We definitely found trace of domestic bleach being used.
Alongside Sara's body was a handwritten note from Urfan Sharif. In it, Sara's father wrote that his intention had not been to kill her.
Sorry, police, how can I help?
A claim he repeated in the phone confession, alerting the police to Sara's body.
I beat her up. It wasn't my intention to kill her, but I beat her up too much. Actually, she was naughty over the last 3-4 weeks, and I was giving her punishment that she to sort her out.
Urfan Sharif had beaten his 10-year-old daughter with a metallic rod and a cricket bat. The court had heard that her body had over 70 external injuries.
These must be the worst injuries that I have come across. The number of them, the nature of them, and the suffering is like nothing I've seen before.
After Sara's murder, her family flew from Heathrow to Pakistan.
There are a couple of things I would like to address.
Once abroad, Urfan Sharif and his wife Beinash Batool released this public video.
Sara's death was an incident. We are willing to cooperate with the UK authorities and fight our case in court.
We are, yes.
Pressure in Pakistan led the suspects back to England in September 2023. At Gatwick Airport, the police were waiting, and Faisal Malik, Beinash Batool and Urfan Sharif were all charged.
You are therefore arrested for murder of Sara Sharif.
It's hard to put into words, actually. I don't think I've ever felt such sadness. And I think I say that on behalf of all the staff and the community. I think the shock was just immense.
This trial has heard simply awful details about the abuse that Sara Sharif suffered by both Urfan Sharif, her father, and stepmother Beinash Batool. Now, whilst Urfan Sharif consistently changed his story on the stand, Beinash Batool opted to remain silent. Instead, she was presented as vulnerable when she met Urfan Sharif, a man with a history of abuse who was 13 years her senior. Her lawyers said that she was a victim and not a perpetrator, and confided in her sisters about Urfan's abuse. On the 8th of May 2021, Beinash told her sisters over text, "I'm kind of having a panic attack. He's literally going to break her arm or leg. I have no idea what to do. I'm in the other room. He locked us out. He's not opening the door." The next day she wrote, Urfan had beat the crap out of Sara. She's covered in bruises, literally beaten black. The court heard that Beinash Batool had met with a lawyer in 2022 and wanted a court order against Urfan Sharif to protect the children. But the police said Beinash Batool was complicit.
Who did that to Sara?
No comment.
Do you love Sara?
No comment.
Did you care about her at all?
No comment.
The prosecution argued that Sara's stepmother was part of the murder, had been part of the escape plan, and that neighbours had heard her verbally abuse the children. Today the jury found that Beinash Batool was just as guilty as her husband. This is where Sara Sharif lived a painful existence and where the police arrived to find her body burned, bitten, bruised and with multiple broken bones. Now Urfan Sharif accepted responsibility for beating Sara, but the bite marks found on her body did not match Urfan Sharif or his brother, and Beinash Batool refused to provide her dental impressions. But we now know Sara's death was not just a stroke of evil, but of institutional failings. Were the family previously known to police?
So there were no other police records of involvement with the family prior to Sara's death.
But Urfan Sharif was known to police.
Hold on to him, Allah.
Long before his conviction for Sara's murder, Sharif was accused of domestic violence and coercive control by multiple women. After Sara's school discovered bruising, Urfan Sharif removed her to be homeschooled away from the protection of teachers. And despite the school reporting their concerns to social services, Sara remained in Urfan's care.
A child who is raising safety concerns in the school because of physical markings or behaviours should not be allowed to be educated at home. And of course there were other failings. What on earth is going on there? I mean, it seems to me that the data sharing around Sara, who was before her birth a child at risk and known to services, you know, how it came to be that social care didn't have the data and close the case is absolutely a major failing.
The Sharif family were known to social services. Sara had previously been subject to a child protection plan and care proceedings, and Urfan Sharif had previously been ordered to undertake a workshop for domestic violence perpetrators. Yet, when new evidence emerged of bruising on Sara, she remained in Urfan's care. The question is, why? Yet so far, Surrey County Council have declined the opportunity to do an on-camera interview. Surrey County Council say a safeguarding review would now begin, and that we are resolute in our commitment to protecting children, and we are determined to play a full and active part in the forthcoming review alongside partner agencies to thoroughly understand the wider circumstances surrounding Sara's tragic death. In the playground of Sara's old school, there is a missing voice.
Sara absolutely loves singing and dancing, and one of the memories that will always stay with me is when she came. One Christmas she wrote a song, and her and her little friend had written lyrics, and so she came to my office. Mrs. Chambers, we've written a song, we want to share it with you. And I remember saying to her, Sara, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she said to me, I want to sing. She said, I'm going to be on X Factor.
Sara never got to fulfill that dream. A serious case review is now underway to understand why. Now the world will never hear this child sing again.
Well, earlier I spoke to Dr. Julie Taylor, Professor of Child Protection at the University of Birmingham. I began by asking her that given all social services knew about Sara and her father, what on earth stopped them removing Sara from the family?
If we knew the answer, it wouldn't happen again. I don't think, though, it's as simple as people just not doing their job or people just ignoring facts that are before them. Child protection, especially frontline child protection by social workers and other professionals, is really complicated. And none of us expect families to harm their children in such horrific ways.
Is there, in some ways, a sort of optimism bias that, you know, the authorities didn't expect, you know, a woman in the household to be violent, didn't expect that, you know, he would go on these, the dad would go on these domestic violence courses, and that wouldn't make a difference?
I don't want to preempt what will be coming out in a case review for this, an investigation that will be held soon. But you do have to look at the fact that even before Sara was born, there had been real questions asked about whether she was safe in that family and so on. And I think people sometimes give people too many chances. Okay, they seem to be better. She's going to be safe. There's other family there. They're going to look after her.
And when you look at the multiple concerns raised with lots of different agencies, police, social services, the school, where do you think the biggest failure lies?
I think the biggest failure lies in her father and her stepmother, and I don't think we should forget that they were the ones who killed her, and we can look for blame elsewhere, but she was killed within her family. But I think there are lots of systemic things that we ought to be questioning. So, you know, the whole thing, the schools saw that Sara had been injured and hurt and had bruises, and so then the family took her out to be electively home educated, and we don't have a system that says we keep a register of that or that we can check up on them. I mean, that's an absolute travesty. I mean, most people...
Well, the government says it will introduce that, but it's taking its time.
Well, it's taking its time, for sure. You know, most children are not hurt in that way, but it's a fundamental failure, I think, that we're taking so long to deal with that. I think all the cuts that we've had to frontline services mean that those practitioners at the front line are burnt out and are not able to offer the right interventions because we don't have the money to prop those up. So I think we've got to look at that as well.
Is there individual failure on a sort of, you know, a lack of professional curiosity?
I wouldn't say that's individual. It's because even the teams that within which we work are so driven by other pressures that we don't have the time to go through those questions with people and to supervise them to a point where we're saying, well, when you saw that, what did you think? And challenge it. So we're very reactive, and if we think things are okay, we move on without necessarily asking the right questions. But lots of people will have asked the right questions and just won't have been listened to.
Surrey County Council said that the perpetrators went to extreme lengths to conceal the truth from everyone. Is that any defence from the council there?
No, I don't think so, because we've known for a long time that parents or families who harm their children can be very devious.
I've been remembering names of other children this afternoon. Baby P, Arthur Labinho Hughes, Star Hobson, Kira Ishak. I mean, I could go on. Now, of course, Sara Sharif. Every time this happens, everybody says, well, never again. And then it happens again. What needs to change to ensure that we have the best chance of this not happening again?
Well, I wish I could answer that. You know, we would have saved a lot of lives if we had found those answers. I do think that we need to be much more preventive in our approaches. We need to be very much looking at early interventions, at why children are being thrown in a river and not just hoiking them out further down as they go past when they need resuscitating or they're already dead. We need to be looking at, well, who's throwing them in? Is the riverbank crumbling? Why are they in that river in the first place? And actually putting our efforts and our interventions much, much earlier.
Is there a sort of onus on all of us to look out for these vulnerable kids and spot the warning signs in communities?
Absolutely. I think that some of the most effective things that we've seen around the world at protecting children is when a community is really aware of what's going on, when neighbours care enough to notice and to report what's going on, to actually be really worried about that child and to think, well, what's the life of that child like? They live next door to me and I never see them playing. I only ever hear mum shouting or dad yelling or whatever. We're all fairly sensible people, you know. We can spot when something isn't right for a child.
Professor Julie Taylor, thanks very much.
Thank you.